Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Gaynor.
Boss Bloke Aidan.
Okay, before we start, Patreon's your thing. Link in the description below. We've got loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of content. Loads of it on Patreon. Everything from Modern Family full watch along, Seinfeld. Always Sunny stuff. Yeah, there's loads of stuff on there.
Family.
Yeah. Welcome to Wrexham, the quarterback.
Tons.
Loads. Anyway, a bit of a city comparison. New York City versus London. My preference. New York City.
Yeah.
New York.
Your preference?
New York.
Yeah.
No, you've not been to New York though. You've been, but you're very, very young.
Yeah, but I've never really been to London either.
You've been quite a lot of times to London with me.
Yeah,
To Wembley, how many times?
Yeah, I know, but I've only been to London for a football match.
Been to West Ham, Chelsea, Tottenham.
You've not been
Which
like
are all
walking
football
around.
matches. Exactly. I'm not saying like I've gone like I wouldn't say I've been out in Dortmund really, but I've only gone to the Dortmund Stadium.
Yeah. You have been to London quite a few times because I've got pictures of you outside Buckingham Palace with your bear hat on.
Really?
Yeah.
But I must have been too young to remember that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see how the world sees it. Infographics letting us know the comparison between New York City and London. I think first thing that comes into my mind if you're comparing the two,
Apartments.
crime for me.
Why is that the first thing you think of?
Because it's big cities, and when you go to a big city, you always want to know, am I going to be safe?
Yeah.
Because it attracts a lot of criminals, doesn't it? Big cities.
But in New York, there's police on every corner.
Yeah, I felt well
London,
safe.
not
Well safe
really.
in New York. London, I'm looking over my shoulder, someone going to ride past and grab me
Phone
out my hand or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You know, it's a proper shady place, London.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it. New York City versus London comparison.
To Travel and Leisure magazine, the best city in the world right now you could visit is San Miguel de Allende in Mexico, followed by Charleston in the USA, followed by Chiang Mai in Thailand. These three places, however, don't even get on the top 20 places to actually live in this year's Quality of Living Index, a yearly list compiled by HR firm Mercer. Apparently, if you want to live the good life, you should move to Vienna, Austria, Zurich, Switzerland, or Auckland, New Zealand. The top 20 list doesn't include any cities from the UK or the USA, two countries that have arguably been the two heavyweights in the last century regarding power and wealth. These two countries, however, contain cities that attract millions of overseas visitors every year. Today, we are going to compare them in this episode of the infographic show, New York City versus London. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so that you can be part of our notification.
This was done 6 years ago, this video. It's a 6-year-old video, so some of the stuff might not be up to date as such. But yeah, I'm surprised that no place finished in the top 20 to live in the US and the UK.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised about the UK.
No, I'm not surprised the UK, but
is
definitely
very expensive to live there.
Yeah, but it's but I'm just surprised that nowhere popped up from them two countries.
I'm not really.
No, you would have thought some American cities would be there.
Yeah, very modern and very up to date and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Squad. The cities are two of the most visited places in the entire world. In 2016, though, the most visited city in the world by international travelers was Thailand's capital, Bangkok. 21.47 million people visited Bangkok that year. In second place was London with 19.88 million visitors, and in third place was Paris with 18.03 million visitors. The most visited US city was New York City, and that was in fifth place with 12.75 million visitors. Dubai was in fourth. In the last 5 years, Bangkok held the first position 3 times and London twice. In our comparison, we might thereby deduce that London is more visitable than New York City. Let's find out why. First, we will take a look at the two cities' abridged history. We'll start with London as it's the elder. The city of London is old, but nowhere near as old as some cities in the Middle East, China, or other parts of Europe. You'll know from our show on the British and Roman empires that Britain was invaded by the Romans in 43 AD. They established the city of Londinium that at the time was about the size of a small village in England right now. When the Romans left Londinium, it was pretty much a ghost town, and for hundreds of years it remained so. Even the invading Vikings didn't do much with it, and it wasn't until the Normans invaded from France and subjugated the country that London became a powerful city. William the Conqueror made London the Norman stronghold, building the famous Tower of London. The Normans would be the last people to this day to successfully invade England. In medieval times, London grew in power and wealth, but that also included the spread of poverty, corruption, and greed among the upper echelons of society, and bouts massive population-denuding plagues. It wasn't until 1850 that London became the largest city in the world in terms of population. Some sources say it was as early as 1825, though most scholars agree that London was the most populated city until the 1920s. Another city then took over right up until the 60s, and that was the city of New York. Long before New York City had high-rise buildings, it was the stomping ground of Algonquin natives who hunted and fished where people now trade stocks and eat pastrami sandwiches. It wasn't until 1624 that European settlers would start a community in the city when families of the Dutch West India Company made a home of Nutten Island. That's now known as Governor's Island and is between Manhattan and Brooklyn. Being Dutch, they called this place New Amsterdam. Some historians say that the Dutch bought the area from the natives for a few trinkets. The peace between the natives and the Euro expansionists didn't last, and the trouble ended with a lot more native casualties than Dutch casualties. New Amsterdam soon covered much of what we regard as New York City today, but the imperialistic Brits, guided by London prospectors, would soon burst the Dutch bubble. On August 26, 1664, 4 British frigates sailed to New Amsterdam and in a bloodless coup took control and renamed it New York after the Duke of York, not the city of York, in the north of England. At that time, the city had about...
You don't want to be associated with the Duke of York now.
No.
You know what I mean? Hey?
about 1,500 Europeans and 375 Africans, most of whom were slaves. It remained that way for over 100 years, and even when American independence was on the cards, New York City was a stronghold for British loyalists. In 1783, the British were forced out, and in 1789, it became the first national capital of the US. Only in 1790 did the capital become Washington, D.C. Like London, the growing city had its fair share of growing pains, including great fires and huge loss of life due to yellow fever and cholera. Nonetheless, by 1850, the population was more than 550,000, and New York City had become a center of the world. So now we come to the present day. The population of London right now is thought to be about 8.7 million. This has spiked lately due to the arrival of ethnic minorities that make up about 44% of the city's population. London covers an area of 607 square miles, making it the biggest city in Europe. New York City has a population of 8.538 million, and it is mixed in terms of ethnicity. About 44% of residents are white Caucasian.
Yeah, this is 2016. Like I say, it might have changed in the last.
I thought New York was like 12 million.
I thought it was a lot more than that.
I thought New York would have a lot bigger population than London.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But it's right about the London. I think there's a lot of Russian people that live there, and a lot of
there's a lot of every
Arabs.
nationality. There's a lot of the Arabic world's definitely a Muslim world, whichever way you want to look at it, is definitely taken a massive stronghold there. But it's definitely multicultural, racial. It's everything.
Oh, yeah.
London's got everything, just like New York has. Don't know what you say. It's when you go to London now, you wouldn't know what country you're in unless you knew you were in London and read the road signs.
Yeah.
If you just went off just looking at people around, you wouldn't know which country you're in.
No.
Unless you're in like the centre where all like the Big Ben is and London Eye.
That's full of tourists.
Yeah.
That's just mega Touristville, that isn't it? That's just where all the tourists are like.
But it looks British as well. The scenery.
The architecture and all that, yeah. But a lot of it also could be very. I guess there's a lot of it's Victorian and stuff like that when you see the Victorian architecture.
Yeah.
But you just by looking at people alone, you wouldn't know which country you're in.
True.
27% Hispanic, 25% Black or African American, with a much smaller mix of other ethnicities. The city covers 304 square miles and is the biggest city in the USA, though considerably smaller than London. But with almost equal populations, this means New Yorkers have far less space. So what about the standard of living in these cities? They are both pivotal cities regarding the financial sector, though one website claims that London's financial sector is slightly bigger with 340,000 employees to New York's 322,000. As of March 2017, the Global Financial Centers Index puts London at the center of the world, with New York hot on its heels in the number 2 spot. New York has more billionaires, with 103 in 2017 according to Forbes, while London only has 72. London is said to have better job growth though over the last decade. For the average Joe among us, how is life in these cities?
There's no way he actually thinks that's how you spell it. Is that like meant to be some joke or something? Because that was so badly spelled.
It depends on which source you read. The latest cost of living index by Expatizen puts New York as the 5th most expensive city to live in the world, and London in 12th, with food and housing in New York being more expensive, but clothes and transportation being cheaper. The Guardian reports that after Brexit, London got a lot cheaper, stating that the city has recently arrived at a newfound bargain basement status. In fact, according to the website Numbeo, that compares cost of prices around the world, the cities are fairly equal in terms terms of eating, going out, shopping, but just a bit more in New York. Renting in London is cheaper than New York if you're not renting high-end apartments, but actually buying a place is much more expensive in London on average. Travel is more expensive in London, whether you buy your own gas or use public transportation. Gas and electric is also more expensive in London, but internet is almost half the price of New York on average. Education is more expensive in New York, and it's thought that inner-city London schools are a bit better than inner-city New York schools. The average wage in New York is $4,542 a month, while in London it is only $2,952 a month. That might sound bad for Londoners, but they do get free healthcare, lots of paid vacation, and in general, better workers' rights. Money aside, what about the general day-to-day creature comforts? Well, as London is much bigger, it also has more space. With that, you get more parks and more green spaces. At the same time, New York is easier to get around, and some people speaking on forums say a bit more fun, as it's compact, and unlike London, is more of a 24-hour city. If you are out at night, London may have more crimes in terms of robberies and assaults, but New York has more murders. According to Numbeo, respondents to a survey said they felt similar about safety in London and New York. It seems the difference is bigger crimes are more common in New York, but your chances of finding trouble on the street is more likely in London. We should, however, take this to those that have lived in both cities. According to one American man who did both for many years, he said on a forum thread that both cities were too expensive even when single. He loved the open, sprawling green spaces in London and at times didn't like the noisy, claustrophobic streets of New York. He did, however, like the fact that in New York you could sit down anywhere and find enjoyment, while London was too spread out for him at times. The writer agreed with the sites we cited already on costs of things, also the heavy workload in the US for most people, but did say in terms of meeting new people, socializing, or partying, New York is easier. One more thing he pointed out that we didn't mention yet was the weather, which is a deal breaker for some people. New York has colder winters and can have steaming hot summers, whereas London is cool, damp, and gray for much of the year, with some warm weeks in summer and only a moderately cold winter compared to New York. We'll end it there with the weather. Have you lived in or visited either of these two cities? If so, we'd love it if you shared your opinion in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other video called American Cops versus British Cops.
Do you know what I'd like to know? There's a thing that's like, you know what I'm like when I talk to people, I always ask them like, why'd you go there, or what'd you do that for, or what were the reasoning behind it? If you went, some people say I've just come back from Tokyo, and I go, what did you go to Tokyo for? Was there a reason that took you to Tokyo?
Business, pleasure.
Was there a reason that took you there? And you want to know, you're a bit nosy, I know that. But when people who don't live in the UK, when you look at the UK, I know a lot of people see London as the initial, got to go to London sort of thing, because it's the capital. I get that. But I wonder how many people think about, I've got to go to Edinburgh, or I've got to go to Belfast, or I've got to go to Cardiff. So like other parts of the UK where where they're their capitals as well, but where I've got to go to Leeds.
I don't think they, like, a lot of Americans. Don't get me wrong, a lot of them probably do know, but I think a lot of Americans don't even know any other city outside of than London.
I imagine a lot would know.
There's quite a few that have said that they'd like to do London, as if that's the only thing. In London, Ireland, and Wales and Scotland. It's not like England.
It's like London is England to that. Well, I've seen podcasts and stuff with Americans on it, and they're like, name 3 countries, and they say London.
Yeah, I remember when we lived in the USA, I remember someone asking me what part of London am I from, and I said I'm not from London. They went, you're not? And I went, no, from Manchester. They went, they looked at you like funny, and I was like, and they were like,
that's a country.
But then they were like, and even Joe, one of the lads I worked with, and he said to me, there's no way, I thought England was the city and London was the country.
You're joking.
And I went, no, and I was like, no, mate, England's a country, and then you got London, Manchester,
and
Liverpool,
somebody said
Leeds,
to us, where do people from Manchester hang out? Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, you would do. I mean, you could.
What?
Yeah.
I kind of see why people from Manchester may hang out in Liverpool. It's only 27 miles away. It's not far away at all. It's quite close. But at the same time, it's a whole different world. Between Manchester and Liverpool, there's a whole host of areas in between as well. And all that sort of like M62 route of St Helens,
there's not much going on though.
Warrington, there's a lot going on, but not as much as going on in Manchester and Liverpool. But just curious to know, if you were to visit the UK, where would be your go-to point? I think if someone said to me, I'm coming into the UK, where should I go? My first thing would be, you've got to see London.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of iconic sort of like touristy things to see. Buckingham Palace, Houses of Parliament, Big Ben, that's in the Houses of Parliament. But you got like all that Westminster sort of like Abbey, sort of like to sort of like see. But there's loads of stuff to see. There's statues.
It depends what you're going for. If you're going for sightseeing, then obviously go to London. But I would that's
Windsor
the last
Castle.
thing I'd ever want to do. Like I couldn't care less about seeing Buckingham Palace or 10 Downing Street and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So London would be like a place to not go for me.
Yeah, but I think that's to do with your age. I think when you're older, you probably would be more interested in seeing stuff like that. Because when I was your age, I wasn't interested. Like when we moved to New York, I was like, No, I don't like it. No,
like
I love it.
Yeah, if you go to say, if someone from me was, let's say, a Canadian, comes to me and says, if you went to Canada, where would you go? I'd be like, there's a few places I'd like to see. I like to see the West Coast, with Vancouver and things like that. But I'd also like to visit Toronto. Montreal is another place, but I know it's a lot of French there. And I like, you know what I feel about the French.
Oh, just go to Quebec then.
Yeah, so it's but you said, you know, these places you like to add, these other places I'd like to go and see in Canada as well. I'd like to go further north and explore some. I don't know where there's nobody, Calgary.
Yeah.
But then you've got things like, you know, a lot of sports things attract me to different cities. But just curious to know what would be the reason to come to the UK, and where would you like to go to compare? Because if someone says to me, come to the UK, don't go to New York. I love going to New York. You know, it'd be like someone me saying, don't go to London.
It's personal preference. Like, everyone could think different. So
Yeah,
you can't really
if you remember when we went to Germany, we went in the Hofbräu house, and we met some Americans there, and we said, oh yeah, we lived in New Jersey, and they went, sorry about that.
Yeah, a lot of people say that it's like the armpit of the USA, and I'm like, no, it's not really. It was quite nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places in New Jersey that were really nice, some nice beaches, and don't know, there's certain things. But again, it's an opinion. When we went back a couple of years ago, we stayed down in Asbury Park, and that's got iconic places as well, like the Stone Pony and places like that. And you look at them, and it's had a whole regeneration. It was a proper trendy area now, Asbury Park, wasn't it?
Yeah, when we lived there, it wasn't nice
at all. Yeah, it was a shithole when we lived there. But just curious that with city comparisons, because I always like to know what would take someone to a different place.
If you're going on a holiday, I don't even think the whole of England's a place to go on holiday.
Depends what
Depends
you want.
what kind of holiday you want.
Devon, Cornwall, beautiful beaches.
Yeah, true. If you're like a historian, then yeah, it's a good place to go.
Yeah, if you're into history and you're into castles or walking, and when I say walking, I don't mean hiking as such, like up mountains and stuff, because we don't really have any mountains.
Just lots of lanes and.
But if you like lakes and rivers and sort of things like that, there's quite a few of them sort of thing. You know, if you like the country pubs. A lot of people get attracted to coming to country pubs in the UK.
Yeah.
They like that quaint village sort of feel, when you can go into a little village and it's got one pub where everyone knows each other, sort of thing.
And believe it or not, the food's amazing.
And the food is absolutely stunning when you go in these places. Yeah, I mean these are Michelin star chefs.
Yeah.
Sort of like in some of these small country pubs.
Yeah, they open their own, don't they?
What would be your ideal city to go to tomorrow? If you were like, if I said to you, got a ticket to go on holiday for 1 week, where are you going?
In the UK or
Anywhere. In the world.
I'd probably choose Singapore.
Okay.
I like Singapore, very clean and it's very nice.
If it was a 1 week fly tomorrow anywhere in the world, I'd probably choose Singapore. But then again, if someone said, I'll give you 1 week in Asia, 1 week in Africa, 1 week in the Middle East, 1 week in North America, 1 week in South America, whichever way it is, and regionalise. No, I'm saying if you regionalised it, then obviously everywhere would be different for that sort of like neck of the woods where I was going to go. But because there's loads of places I've not been to yet, and I don't know what they're going to be like, but I want to go.
Yeah.
I just want to go and have a look. And I was watching a program the other day on Donald Trump in Iowa, in the caucus, when he was doing the Iowa caucuses, and Des Moines, I don't even pronounce it, Des Moines, how you pronounce
Iowa,
it, in Iowa. Yeah. And I thought, I've always wanted to go here, and it's like, it's one of them places, and I'm having a look round on the TV, and I'm like, it looks pretty cool. Yeah, so it's one of them places where I'd like to go, but I don't know, do we go to New York, LA, Houston, Boston, places like Chicago?
People would probably tell you not to go to LA, it's shit, but I'd love to go to LA.
You've got to make your own mind up, haven't you?
Yeah. But if you come into the UK, Manchester's no better place than Manchester, I'd say. It's probably the best place in the...
Let's go to the north, just tour the north.
Yeah, it's the best place in the country is Manchester, without a doubt. Yeah. Second to none.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.